Hi guys, this is Christine, your relationship and mindset mastery doctor and your leverage for change. Today I want to speak to you about the anxious preoccupied individual. And this is one of the 4 different attachment styles that was created in childhood and kind of now it dictates how you respond. Not really respond, a lot of times it's just reacting in interact in your in your adult relationships, especially your romantic or intimate relationships. And this will also affect this attachment style that you have is also going to affect your work relationships, your friend, and your relationship with friends, male and female. And so it's really important that you kind of make the effort to really heal from this kind of all the traumas that cause this type of relationship. So let me remind you about some of the traumas that really caused the predominant traumas that cause how someone with this particular attachment style will behave in relationships and really kind of experience relationships. And so one of the trauma is a feeling of rejection, because as children sometimes they got enough care and attention to feel loved, but a lot of times they felt rejected because it was just not consistent. So or maybe sometimes it's one parent that is really loving and another parent who's very distant, like the dismissive avoidant person. So this child it's very confusing at this age, because the child cannot understand why it is that one parent is so giving and there for them, and the other one is so distant. So they kind of have this feeling of rejection from that experience of being not as loved as in other circumstances with the other parent, right? And there are different reasons, guys, which I won't go into right now, why it is that someone will develop this kind of attachment style. But I want us to really focus on the core wounds and how they affect this particular attachment style in their relationships. So the rejection, they're going to feel that rejection. And because of this rejection, guys, what happens is that this individual is going to be hyper vigilant in their relationships, because they can tell when somebody does not like them or want them, or they're going to not want to be around them. And so they're constantly looking for cues and behaviors and body languages, like sometimes what will the precursor of that action, the body language or micro expressions that is going to say this person is not going to be here for me, or there's going to be a change in their behavior, right? So this person becomes really hypervigilant and can sometimes, especially in their adult relationships now, cause a lot of issues, because they are going to always go to a negative meaning of whatever that expression it is that they saw. And it could be that the person is just tired, but they're going to probably interpret that tiredness and that nonchalance that the person might leave them, or the person is not satisfied with them, or the person is planning to leave, or maybe they're distracted because they're thinking about somebody else. So you can see how this can be really problematic for a relationship, and the trust and the ease with which both parties experience this relationship. The other thing that the anxious preoccupied really has a problem with is a sense of abandonment, a fear of abandonment. Really, they feel just the same thing with that inconsistency of attention and being there for them within the caregivers. They fear abandonment. And so when that person, when their caregiver came back, they would just cling to them, and they're very needy, and they're always they're really dependent on their caregiver for their happiness, basically. And so when the person did not show up for them, then when they finally show up, they would be very needy and clingy to that caregiver. And that is also further transferred and translated into their adult relationships when their partner is not readily available to them when they want them to be. And of course, you can see again how that can be a problem for any relationship, because you cannot have access to an individual 24/7, 365 days, right? Their time, they have to go to work, and they're going to be maybe traveling sometimes, and you're not going to be together all the time. So that can be a problem, right? When the individual senses this fear of abandonment, it triggers a lot of feelings, right? And these feelings, as I mentioned, came from childhood or prior relationships. And these feelings can be feelings, if they feel, it makes them feel unsafe in that relationship. It makes them feel fearful that this relationship is going to end. It makes them feel alone. These are the emotions that will accompany this type of fear of abandonment. And they may panic, and in that panic and distress, what they do is they may blow up your phone and call and expect that if they don't hear a response the first time, then they'll just keep doing it, right? Until it really gets really problematic for the person. The person could be in a meeting at work. The person could have left their phone somewhere. Their phone might be charging somewhere, but the person with the anxious, preoccupied attachment style is going to give a negative meaning to it, and now start to feel panic and distress and act in very negative ways that will cause serious problems in this relationship. The person may also feel a sense of sadness or begin to feel numb when they feel like, when they believe they're going to be abandoned, right? Someone with this attachment style never feels good enough, or they never feel worthy of love because of those same experiences in childhood. And because what happens is that the person with this attachment style, they basically derive their sense of self and their self-image and their self-esteem from the person that they are in relationship with. So if they don't feel worthy of love, then this is, then it's like the person has to do something to make them feel that they're worthy of love. And so you can see how this can be a problem, because nobody can, be there for you all the time to make you feel good about yourself. So you have to develop some ways of doing this for yourself. You have to come to this place of healing for yourself so that you can, know that without somebody else, you feel you have a really good sense of who you are, and a higher sense of self-worth and self-image for yourself, without having to depend on someone else to make you feel worthy of love or make you have some kind of sense of self. Another thing that really can be a core wound is that this attachment style will feel a sense of exclusion. Like they think that they might not be the person who people will choose to be in their group if they're having, like, in classes, or as a friendship group, or in something. They have that sense that they don't feel worthy, and this is all coming from the feeling of not being worthy and a very low self-image, because they derive their sense of self from how others treat them. So you can imagine if they feel like they're excluded from a particular group that they wanted to be in, that's going to make them feel even worse, right? So what's happening is that basically this attachment style really gives away all their power to everybody, to someone else, to determine who they are, right? And so you can see that is a really negative place to be in, right? Now, the anxious preoccupied, because their core needs, they need intimacy, they need to feel close to whoever it is that they're in a relationship with. They need those things. Those are core needs, right? And because of this, they will always stay in relationships that are not good for them. You will always also stay in do the chasing in when you might see somebody that you like, or they may show some interest, but you are doing the chasing. You're making the dates. You're calling all the time. You're doing all, and you're the one moving the relationship forward. So you've become the chaser in the relationship, always trying to make things happen, right? And someone with this attachment style can be very controlling, because they want to control every aspect of their interaction with their partner, because they feel that if they don't have that control or keep that close to that partner, somehow they're going to lose interest in them, or they're going to leave because somehow they may have missed something, and they if they could manage that and control that, they're going to try and control it, which control is not something that you want to be in a relationship. It's a partnership, right? And so a lot of times this individual can use very negative behaviors to try and control their partner, like making them feel jealous, or threatening to leave, in the hopes that this other person will say, oh no, don't leave, please stay, because that's how they gain their value. This is how their self-image, they feel worthy of love, right? Or feel needed. They want to feel needed. And so they might do really negative things that will kind of trigger this kind of behavior from their partner. But of course, if the partner is a dismissive avoidant, they're not going to get that, right? So, because, they're always looking for reassurance. And so they will use, someone with this attachment style will use any kind of behavior without thinking, because these are ways that they use to try and get the attention of their parents. Maybe they cried, maybe they screamed, maybe they, all that kind of stuff, and maybe they threw things down, that kind of stuff, to keep the attention of keep in front of their caregivers, attention. And that's basically what a person with this attachment style will do. Not kicking and screaming and stuff, and sometimes they will kick and scream too, but in a more adult way, but more like throw things and scream and loud, that kind of thing, right? And of course, again, that's not good for any type of relationship. It's not healthy. And because, again, one of the things that the anxious preoccupied does is to put their partner on a pedestal. They will basically rotate. It's almost like they revolve around their partners, and everything that their partner does. If they never played golf in their life and their partner played golf, they're going to want to play golf. If they did this, they're going to abandon. And this is the thing about self-abandonment, because the anxious preoccupied is always abandoning themselves, to focus on something else, usually someone else, right? So they abandon themselves, abandon everything about them. So they abandon their friendships, they abandon their connection with their family members to focus totally on this individual. And so of course you can understand you're putting all this pressure on this one person, because you need to get your feeling of sense of self and self-image and sense of self-worth from this person, because you are so in love with that person, right? That you now put this person on a pedestal, and you arrange your life to revolve around their activities and their time, that you'll just sit there and wait for them to call you to have a date. If you had a date with friends or some kind of a appointment or something with something else, you will more than likely cancel those dates in favor of spending it with that partner, because you have put them on this pedestal, and everything, your whole life is now going to start to revolve around them, which is not good, guys. That's dangerous. Now, how do we begin? Does someone with this begin to change these patterns of behaviors and to heal, right? First thing you have to do is really to become aware of what these behaviors are, because a lot of times people with patterns that they've practiced over the years from they were children never ever come to terms with it, because they never stopped long enough to become aware and say, I notice I keep doing this every time this happens. I wonder why that is. Nobody ever, a lot of people don't do that. They will just keep acting from that automatic response that they normally did for years and years and years. And so now you have to stop, really start to now focus on what are these things that I'm doing that makes me feel so miserable in relationships. Why do I do it? what can I do? And you have to question those thoughts. Before why do I do it? Why do I question those behaviors? Why do I do this? If I continue to do this behavior, what will happen? What evidence is there that this has happened before? So you can help to kind of reinforce that belief of what the real results are of these negative behaviors. Get the evidence. What evidence? When I did this before, what happened? Well, we had me and my partner had a big blowout because he was so pissed that I keep blowing up his phone and all that kind of stuff. So you keep doing that all the time, guys. The thing about changing patterns that you've had for years is that it's going to take time and a consistency to change those patterns, right? It does not happen overnight. You never develop these patterns of behavior overnight. It's not going to take one, somebody talking to you over on a YouTube video to change it. You have to actually practice this thing. So first, become aware of the patterns. Write them down. I do this whenever. So it's at the forefront of your mind. When something is at the forefront of your mind, then when it happens again, you notice it. When you notice it, you say, okay, so I do this when this happens. What's the trigger? This is what triggered it. What are the feelings that come up when I get this, get triggered? You feel you sense the emotions. You say, okay, so next time you start feeling those emotions coming up, you can say, oh no, I'm feeling like I'm going to get triggered soon. I should stop now and say, okay. And you pause and you say, okay, what is this feeling asking me to do? What if I do this feeling? What are the consequences of this thing that if I continue down the road and continue with this behavior that I normally did? What are the consequences? You can go back and get the evidence because you've done this many times before. What were the consequences? Okay, so if I continue doing this, first of all, when you continue doing the same things, you just keep deepening those subconscious threads into your subconscious mind, and so they become more deeply embedded instead. So the next thing you have to do now is to replace those things with other things, a new way of reacting, a new way of thinking, a new way of responding, new behaviors, right? And this is what I teach the tools. I give them tools, my clients tools in my one-on-one coaching, because you have to now prepare for it, guys. You cannot just go around and when the thing happens, you automatically it's going to come to mind. No, you have to prepare for it and have it ready, that when these things come to mind, you know what you're going to do. Preparation. You have to do all these things, and then consistently doing those things over and over again, laying these new patterns of behavior over and over again. That is what is going to change your usual subconscious ways of reacting to these triggers and these core wounds that you had from your childhood. All right, guys, I hope that you learned something, and if you did, please like this video, share it with a friend, and also please subscribe to my channel so that as soon as I put out another video, you can get advance notice, right? Also, I'm going to put something down there. I have a workshop coming up for anxious preoccupieds in March, so if you're interested, information is going to be below this video as to how to proceed to contact me and get registered in this workshop for 8 weeks. All right. In the meantime, guys, this is Christine, your relationship and mindset master doctor, and your leverage for change. Take care, guys, and never stop growing. Bye-bye.